Assalamu alaikum. So Khurram Kashan is here, and my students, how are you? I am absolutely fine. My students and friends, I hope you are learning by my lectures. I will discuss more about economics, accounting, and business that will help you to analyze or understand about the economy. So today's topic is is communication. So what is communication, why we use communication, and why persons communicate to each other? So this lecture will explain you about communication as well as implementation of effective communication, and increase your skills and will help you to reduce your hesitations. So, communication is the conveying or transferring of information from one person to another. The word communication has originated from a Latin word communis, which means something common or sharing among common. So, communication is a process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and emotions through speech, signals, writing, or behavior. In communication process, a sender encodes a message and then using a medium and send it to appropriate feedback using a medium. In other words, communication is a complex process often involve reading, writing, speaking, and listening. There is no communication unless the message sent by the sender is not been received by the receiver. George Torrey has rightly said, simply talking or writing without regards to the recipient's response is conducive to creating a gross misunderstanding. So, the proper definition is a communication is a process of sharing and conveying message or information from one person to another within and across channels, context, media, and culture. So we can use the most favored definition that communication means the process of passing information from one person to another. Another definition, communication is a process of transmitting and receiving verbal and non-verbal messages. In other words, you also can communication convert into business communication. How you can explain the definition: the flow of material, information, perceptions, and understanding between various parts and members of an organization. In other words, business communication is a combination of reading, writing, speaking, and listening, as well as body language skills, with involving transmission of information, perceptions, and accepting between various departments and members of an organization. More definition I have that communication is a process of transferring and receiving information to the use of common symbol so that understanding take place. In most of the time, we can use communication as that is you can say the process of communication, or more people involved in communication, more elements involved in communication. What are these elements? So we start. So the communication process is communication process depend on some components, elements, factors that are as under: number 1, context; number 2, sender or encoder; number 3, message or idea; number 4, medium, channel; number 5, receiver, decoder; and number 6, feedback. So what is context, or what is sender and message and medium, receiver, feedback? So shall we discuss. So context is one of the most influencing element to every message, whether oral or written communication or expression is required. Context is a broad field that include country, culture, organization, and external or internal stimuli. Every country, culture, and every organization has its own convention for processing and communicating information and ideas. Our culture also influences uh, our communication effectiveness. People with similar background communication more effectively and efficiently. For example, a voluntary association leader in Asia could probably communication better with the people in his own group because of their similar culture background than he could with a leader in a same organization in the
in
west
the
or
East.
east.
So the second element is sender. The sender or source is the transmitter of the message. In other words, the person who intend to make contact with objective of passing information and ideas to other person is known as sender. In short, a person who sends the message is called a sender. There are five factors which influence the sender in any communication he transmits. That is, communication is skills, attitudes, knowledge, position in the social system, and culture. When you send the message, you are the encoder. Try to use symbol, usually words, graphs, pictures that express your message so that the receiver reacts with desirable response. A good way of the sender to improve encoding his message to the mentally visualize the communication from the receiver point of view. The next element is message. The message is also called encoding. Every message has at least two major aspects, that is, content and treatment. The treatment of the message is the arrangement or ordering of the content by the sender. The message is the core idea you wish to communicate. It consists of verbal or non-verbal communication or symbols. Your first task is to decide exactly that what your message is and what content it include and how the receiver will interpret it. The next point is channel or medium. The medium you should be appropriate for the message you are putting across. It could be verbal, spoken words, or non-verbal, non-body language expressions or tone of voice. So you can use the memos, reports, letters, fax, SMS, emails. If your message requires an immediate answer or urgent reply, the oral communication may be the better choice. But if the message contains complicated details and figures and formal in nature, a written communication is necessary. The choice of channel may affect the quality of the communication and it turns degree to which the receiver will respond to it. Therefore, we proceed to the receiver side, and obviously there is some noise and barriers in communication. So we discuss in later. Then we discuss the fifth element, that is receiver or decoder. The receiver is also called the decoder. He must attend to interpret and respond to transmitted message. You can see in this picture the sender is using the medium, the receiver is interpret the message that what he sent or she sent. So both receiver and senders are influenced by external environment and internal stimuli. They receive message through eyes and ears and decode according to their experiences. A problem is that all of us do not have identical experience with the subject or the symbol a sender uses. Attitude, abilities, opinion, skills, culture, custom vary. Hence, misrepresentation, misinterpretation occurs. Personal barriers intervene as each receiver through his receptor mechanism perceives the intended meaning of the sender's ideas. So we shall proceed. The last element of the process of communication is feedback. So the feedback is the final step of communication process, which ensuring that the receiver has received the message and understood in the same sense as sender means it. In most of the communication, we use different symbols, telephones, or writing postal messages, or nowadays we are using mobiles, text. So these messages should require feedback. The most of the communication we exact response to the our sent messages, which may be a request for further clarification, an undesirable decision, or a detailed helpful report. If the receiver incorrectly perceive our message, we have miscommunicated. In face to face communication or conversation, feedback is more easily perceived. So the postal message may be delay, or its response its may be delay ignored. So the success or failure of the communication is indicated by feedback we get. There are many responses of communication from receiver, so you can deal in the better way, and it may be negative or it may be positive. So communication, whatever you are delivering, every message, whether oral or written, being with concept and context and complete feedback required. For example, if I do not get response, so I will not explain you more, because our communication process stopped. So this is the communication process I have discussed with you, and in this process I already told that communication is most of the important concept and element which is used in our conversation, and we have to use in business and business policies and get positive feedback. And it has most advantageous. That is why, because the major advantage of upward communication or downward communication provide feedback from the employees, while the upward communication or any type of communication employees to inform their views regarding an implementation. And these ways you can get most of the time that your communication may be effective. So the
if we
communication
shall more
process is completed,
proceeding,
and I
so
explain you about whole process of communication, and hope that you are understanding this lecture and get more knowledge about communication and business communication, in which sender receiver messages and medium involved. So this is my lecture. Thank you, and